It was a bright morning at Fort Ridge, the kind of morning when the air smells of iron and dust and the echo of marching boots fills the horizon like a heartbeat. The sun poured golden light over hundreds of soldiers lined up in perfect formation, their uniforms pressed, their faces solemn. Flags rippled against the sky, medals gleamed faintly on their chests, and yet there was a silence that didn't belong to any ordinary ceremony. Because today the man standing before them, General Adam Carter, wasn't just receiving a medal. He was facing the ghosts of a past no one dared to mention. General Carter had seen the world through gunfire and smoke. 25 years of service had carved the lines on his face, the scars on his hands, and the heaviness in his eyes. To most soldiers, he was a legend, the man who had led men through impossible missions, who had pulled survivors from burning convoys, who never once left a comrade behind. But behind that legend lived a story that even he wished could be forgotten. As the announcer read his name and the band played softly in the background, Carter's hand trembled slightly. He wasn't nervous, generals don't get nervous. But his mind was no longer at Fort Ridge. It had gone back to the mountains of Kandahar, to a night soaked in rain and fire, to a face he never forgot, that of Private Daniel Ross. Daniel had been one of the youngest in Carter's unit, barely 20, always smiling, always the first to volunteer, the kind of soldier who made everyone believe that good still existed even in war. On that night, their convoy had been ambushed. The enemy came from every direction, mortars, gunfire, chaos. Carter had ordered a retreat, shouting over the deafening explosions. But Daniel stayed behind. He had seen a wounded villager trapped under a collapsed wall. "Just 30 seconds, sir," he'd yelled, the last words Carter ever heard him say. The wall had given way again, and by the time the fire died down, Daniel was gone. Carter never forgave himself. The rescue team found Daniel's body the next morning, his hand still shielding the villager he had tried to save. They said Daniel died a hero, but Carter could never believe that. To him, Daniel had died because of his command, and every medal that came after felt heavier, colder, emptier. Years passed. Missions changed, ranks climbed, hair turned gray. Yet the guilt stayed. He never spoke about Daniel, not even to his wife, not even to his men. Until today. The medal he was about to receive was the Silver Star of Valor, awarded for a classified mission that had saved hundreds. But when he opened the small black box handed to him, his breath caught in his throat. Inside, along with the medal, was a nameplate. Private Daniel Ross. The inscription read, "For bravery beyond duty." The base fell silent. Not because of protocol, not because of ceremony, but because everyone saw the look on the general's face. A man who never broke, never faltered, suddenly looked like the weight of the entire war had crushed his heart. His fingers traced Daniel's name as if touching a wound that never healed. For a long moment, no one moved. The wind stopped, the flag stood still, and it felt as if the entire world was listening. Carter raised his eyes. And for the first time in his long career, his voice trembled when he spoke. This medal doesn't belong to me," he said softly, his gaze locked on the horizon. "It belongs to a young soldier who believed one life was worth more than his own. A boy I failed to save. A boy who showed me what true courage means." He placed the medal back in its case and walked slowly to the memorial wall that stood beside the parade ground. Hundreds of names were carved into the stone, soldiers who never came home. Carter knelt, placed the box beneath Daniel Ross's engraved name, and bowed his head. In that moment, the base, thousands of soldiers, fell completely silent. Many had fought in battles of their own, had lost brothers and friends, had hidden their pain behind discipline. But watching their general, a man of iron, fall to his knees, they felt something break inside them, the invisible armor they all wore. Tears flowed freely, not just for Daniel, but for every name on that wall. Carter stayed there for a long time, whispering words only he could hear. When he finally stood, his face carried a calm the soldiers had never seen before. Not the calm of command, but of peace. He looked at his men, then at the sky. "Remember this," he said. "Medals tarnish, uniforms fade, but the lives we carry inside us and the ones we couldn't save, they're what make us who we are." The soldiers saluted him as one. It wasn't the kind of salute given out of duty, but out of love. The band didn't play again. The ceremony didn't continue. because everyone knew they had just witnessed something sacred. That evening, long after the crowd dispersed, a few young recruits walked to the memorial wall. They saw the box still lying there, untouched, glinting faintly under the setting sun, and beside it a single handwritten note from the general. For the bravest soldier I ever knew. Rest easy, son. You taught us all how to live. No one moved it. No one dared. It stayed there for weeks, close until the wind eventually carried the paper away. But the story spread, then from one soldier to another, through mess halls and campfires, across bases and borders. When the general saw his medal, they'd say, the whole base fell silent, and every man who heard it remembered why they wore the uniform in the first place. If this story touched your heart, if you felt the weight of the silence and the pride of a soldier's sacrifice, please take a moment to like this video. Not for me, but for every hero whose story was never told. Before you go, comment below for the ones who never came home. Let their memory live in our words forever.